Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about B-Movie from 2007. B-Movie's not good, but that's the point of the meme, is that it's not good. It's forgettable, and most likely if you were a kid at the time this was released, which I wasn't, you were forced to see this because your parents were like, I like Jerry Seinfeld and you like things that are animated or something, you're coming, who cares? And that's sort of what happened, I guess. I don't know because I didn't see it. But the point, I saw it before I reviewed it, but I didn't see it then. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But at the time I felt bad because I was like, oh, this is a big hit for kids. Like, kids have to sit through this crap. And this is a weird time for DreamWorks. This is before Kung Fu Panda. This is before How to Train Your Dragon. This is the same year as Shrek the Third. DreamWorks was kind of the big corporate sellout studio that totally sucked and hadn't really had a great movie since the first Shrek or Madagascar. To be honest, I didn't see Over the Hedge, so maybe that was alright. But it wasn't like a really great time for DreamWorks. I mean, in the same year that Pixar made Ratatouille, they made B-Movie and Shrek the Third. So I think that kind of accurately shows the disparity. When people say Pixar wins too many Oscars, remember what happened in 2007. I think a lot of kids were forced to see this kind of forgettable, not very good 2000s animated film. And instead of just like laughing it off and be like, oh, what did my parents make me see? Everyone from that time has made it into a ridiculous meme, into things where every time someone says B-Movie plays at 2 times the speed, which if anyone wants to do this review, I'm totally okay with, because I totally won't have a video where I'm reading the entire script for B-Movie or something like that. According to all laws of aviation, there is no way a bee should be able to fly. Their wings are too small to get its fast little body off the ground. The bee, of course, flies anyway. I appreciate that people took a fairly average, unremarkable movie that isn't very good and hard to stay awake during, frankly, and have decided to make it into the ridiculous joke that this thing actually exists, that was forced upon us by a star that everyone was just happy that he was doing something, and kind of cemented that whole theory that Larry David's probably the reason that Seinfeld was so great, because seriously, look at his post-Seinfeld career, and this was the biggest, this is serious by the way, this is the biggest fucking thing Jerry Seinfeld made post-Seinfeld, which makes it even more ridiculous that we were forced upon something like B-Movie. A honeybee named Barry B. Benson has graduated from college after just a couple days, because bees don't live that long, and found out that once you pick a job, you're stuck in it for life, and doesn't like that and tries to go off with the pollen jockeys who pollinate stuff and then bring back pollen to make honey and everything like that, and then decides to go with them, but then gets lost and ends up talking to a human, and then finds out that honey is being sold to by humans and humans are profiting from it, and then decides to sue humans for the right to have honey. And then bees get very lazy because they get all the honey, all the reserve honey or something, and so then they stop being bees, and it's a B-movie. This movie sucks. I mean, this is like a bad movie. I read reviews at the time and people are like nice to it, and people will go, oh, it's like an enjoyable little animated movie. And I like don't know if Jerry Seinfeld paid them off or everyone was just happy he was doing something. I'm so glad Jerry Seinfeld made comedians in cars getting coffee, because like, holy fuck, B-Movie? Like, the whole time watching this, every performance sounds phoned in. It doesn't sound like Jerry Seinfeld cares. He just thinks of the merchandising bonanza that this film is going to cause, which of course it actually did. There's like 1 million books and a stupid video game, and it was so made to sell tons of shit. DreamWorks at a time were kind of where Illumination is now, but this was really pushed upon the public. Jerry Seinfeld marketing bonanza for this film, like literally pushed this as hard as he could because people loved having him on. He was off of one of the most successful sitcoms of all time, which was making tons in syndication and still actually does very well in syndication, despite being on Hulu and stuff. It's a huge hit still. And people were excited. Seinfeld is back. And it feels so phoned in. Jerry Seinfeld, I mean, it sounds like he did like a couple lines before lunch every day for a month, and eventually they got the movie done. Renee Zellweger sort of tries. And it has like a lot of talented people in this, clearly because they wanted to work with Jerry Seinfeld. And it's so awful. I mean, the whole idea of suing with honeybees and stuff. It's trying to take this environmental thing, which I think is also partly when they were writing it, they found out like what bees do for the environment. They're like, oh man, did you like know that? That's crazy. Let's put it in like the end part. It'll be like real cool. I love that this is a meme. I love that this is a thing, but I hate this movie and I hate this period of DreamWorks. It's probably their forgettable, crazy period before they made things like Kung Fu Panda and How to Train Your Dragon and really did kind of more interesting stuff, which really started with like literally the next movie, which was Kung Fu Panda. And the fact that they were like okay with making this, and like I understand it's Jerry Seinfeld and they're just like, hey, well, you know, DreamWorks can put this out and it'll make a lot of money, and it did, and it's probably the most sellouty of animated films you could make. It's not very interesting, it's not very good. You could say like there's other comedians who have parlayed their act into animated films, and like say like, you know, Ants had Woody Allen in it, you know, Rover Dangerfield and stuff, but this is different in that, you know, Woody Allen probably made a lot of movies. Let's see, that was 98. He probably made like 8 to 10 movies between Ants and B Movie. And like Rodney Dangerfield did other things. Jerry Seinfeld, like this was his big return, like since Seinfeld. Like think about how ridiculous that is. And I get the whole idea of, well, you sell the parents on an animated film, and parents were like, oh cool, I can see the new Seinfeld thing. And my kids like cartoons and looking at screens that are big. So they'll go. The animation looks awful. I mean, it looks like what Norm in the North does now, but like the animation is fucking ugly. I sort of think the Ray Liotta joke in this, that Ray Liotta has his own kind of honey and they reference he won an Emmy in 2005, is kind of like funny, but that's as like interesting as this movie honestly gets. It kind of educates you about bees and such, and I keep hearing people go, oh, you know, when I was a kid it was interesting hearing about insects and stuff, but I feel like Ants and Bugs Life did this thing already, except this involves humans, you know? It's kind of doing a thing that a much better film, a Fleischer film, Mr. Bug Goes to Town, where it's like insects interacting with humans, but in Mr. Bug Goes to Town it's by the Fleischer brothers and the animation is amazing, and in this the animation is ugly as shit, and the script is like written in an afternoon at a big corporate lunch where everybody sort of kind of cared or whatever. It just feels like nobody really was that inspired by this, and it's kind of laughable that they think us as a public will like just eat this stuff up like we're the mindless stupid drones, we'll just like anything animated because it's fucking DreamWorks. And sure, at Kmart at the time I'm sure this would have gotten a big display. Honestly, this gives me a lot of faith in, you know, children of our future, that they could suddenly not just reject it, but push it to an nth internet degree of shitposting that made Jerry Seinfeld kind of eat his words. I'm sure Jerry Seinfeld put a lot of care into, you know, like cashing his check from making this movie, but he probably just made this thinking like, oh, this is a cash cow, I can walk away from this. And it's like the internet will never let him forget it. In fact, the ultimate person we're shitposting is Jerry Seinfeld, because as much as he thinks his legacy is kind of protected in the fact that he made Seinfeld, and I guess in a certain perspective it actually is, we're like honestly never going to let B Movie go. And that's the ultimate revenge. We will never forget B Movie. It will always be here, and you can never stop us from remembering it. We will always bring up the script. According to all laws of aviation, there is no way a bee should be able to fly. Its wings are too small to get its fat little body off the ground. The bee, of course, flies anyway, because bees don't care what humans think is possible. Yellow, black, yellow, black, yellow, black, yellow, black. Oh, black and yellow. Let's shake it up a little. Barry, breakfast is ready. We will never let Seinfeld forget it. I actually had a friend at the time who said, how come it's called B Movie and it's not a riff on B movies? Like, you know, like B movies, like from the 50s and stuff. Wouldn't that have been funnier if it was a bee doing B movies? Like, just conceptually, it's not an interesting premise. And what was like the interest of like both this and the Star Wars prequel trilogy of having like kind of boardroom discussions in films for, you know, mainstream audiences? Like, no one wanted to see a courtroom battle with a fucking bee and honey. Like, who was thinking of that? Like, that was not something anyone was going like, I can't wait to see a bee sue John Goodman doing his closest Foghorn Leghorn impression, which, by the way, John Goodman is amazing in everything, and I'll give him a pass for B-movie. This is so badly done. It is such a paycheck movie. It is ridiculous, but the hilarious thing is I think Jerry Seinfeld took this all the way to the bank. He used his significant celebrity at the time. He still has a significant celebrity. He's Jerry Seinfeld. He's always going to be in the fabric of our culture because he made a hugely successful sitcom. And sure, people like Jackie Gleason did that when The Honeymooners and probably brought upon us crappier things as well. But in this case, Jerry Seinfeld not only sold out hard, he made a really forgettable kind of big budget DreamWorks movie. And I thank the internet and I thank everyone who's a lot younger than me who won't let this movie go, because you shouldn't, because he wants us to kind of forget about it. And this will always be a mark on him because of the memes, because people will go, not only did he make Seinfeld, he made B-movie, which no one should be proud of. B-movie is horrible. This is a very bad movie. It might be, well, okay, there's Shark's Tale, so it's not the worst DreamWorks, and there's other worse DreamWorks, I guess, but it is definitely on the lower tier of a studio that, for the most part, most of us don't really like. And it's before the time when most of the things that we give as evidence to why DreamWorks isn't so bad even came about. It shows a studio that didn't really ever get to the legitimacy that Disney and Pixar did, and kind of makes you question its own legitimacy, that it's really just trying to sell McDonald's toys and give more money to a guy who has a ridiculous sneaker collection and has a hangar full of cars, so much so that he shows them off in a show where he pays for other famous people to drink coffee with him. B-movie is such the ultimate sellout thing that I love that the internet takes something that was thrust upon them. And you know, I think people always say if you just thrust something onto the public, they'll just like it and be fine with it and forget it. And that's kind of the shit posting of putting out a movie. B-movie is the ultimate shit post because the film itself is a shit post. The film itself is shit posting America into seeing this crap. It disrupts everything because it disrupts my state of mind. It was just so bad. Like, it is not a good movie at all. Like, people saying, oh, it's not so bad, it's cool to see what B's do and stuff. Like, I could give a fuck. This movie blows. Like, fuck this movie. B-movie is an absolute turd, and I love that the internet won't let anyone forget it and makes people watch this horrible, shitty movie. The fact that I was convinced to watch this because I thought, oh, people would like it if I talked about stupid fucking B-movie, and now I'm talking about stupid fucking B-movie and reading the script like I'm a fucking stupid little poser who will just go with anything that's popular, just like Jerry Seinfeld did with B-movie. This is kind of a long kind of stretch circle that we will never get out of, that Jerry Seinfeld made something forgettable that we will not let him forget. But maybe that's the point. Maybe Jerry Seinfeld has actually found a way to throw us something that is horrible and not interesting, and we're kind of throwing it back in his face, right? We're throwing it back in his face to be like, we won't let you forget. But he's like, but now you've made it go up in views on Netflix. Now you've given it a social media presence. Now Jerry Seinfeld will make more money off of B-movie. We think we're fighting the good fight by taking down Jerry Seinfeld, bringing back the script by making it more popular, but we're just feeding the machine. The machine will never stop, and B-movie is a part of it. We have walked into their lair and they have one-upped us as we try to one-up it. There's no way to get out of this cycle that is internet memeing and shitposting, and we will all die because of it. What I'm saying here, guys, is B-movie caused 9/11. No, what I'm saying here is that B-movie will never let us go, and we will never let go of it. And it's a cycle that will see no end as we fall to the collapse of humanity. I think B-movie's why Donald Trump happened. I don't know. This movie has made me crazy, and thinking about the global implications of this movie is something that you should not get into. Don't see B-movie because you will not see the other end of it. B-movie does not stop. Life is B-movie, and B-movie is life, and you will never know what life was before and after, because there was no life, there is only B-movie. According to all laws of aviation. So if you have seen B-movie and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. Alright, take 10 everybody. Wrap it up, guys. I had virtually no rehearsal for that.